Look right down the barrel.
Sometimes it feels right. So, what's up, camera?
Perfect. All right, let's get this rolling. What's going on, guys? Mat Fraser here with HWPO Training. Today we are sitting down to talk past, present, and future with five-time CrossFit Games athlete Amanda Barnhart and the newest member of HWPO Training. Thank you for being here.
What's up? Thanks for having me.
What's up? I love it.
That was just natural.
So let's jump right into it. So five-time CrossFit Games athlete. Do you want to kind of give us a bit of a backstory on, how you got into the sport, how you got into competing, all that sort of stuff?
Well, I've been competing my whole life. So started doing ballet, competitive gymnastics. I think I was competing in gymnastics when I was like 6, swimming, just from the start. Then I started doing sports in high school, went to college, swam in college. After college, you've done sports your whole life. You're like, now what? And then I somehow saw CrossFit somewhere. I don't know if it was like, probably not on TV because it wasn't cool enough to be really on TV back then, but saw it somewhere on social media and I was like, I want to do that because I loved the conditioning part of gymnastics. Like that was my favorite part of gymnastics. It was like when we would train for an hour afterwards. So I went to CrossFit for the first time and I was like, this is exactly what I was looking for. This is
conditioning sessions from gymnastics.
Yeah, just like painful workouts that made you feel good. Like there was some times in sports where like volleyball season, I never felt like I was training enough because we didn't do that much. We'd do shuttle runs and but we didn't really lift. We didn't really do the stuff that I enjoyed. So when I got to college and we started doing more of that, like we call it dry land and swimming. But basically it was CrossFit and then we would run and do other stuff like that. And I loved that. Like I actually loved that more than swimming. So afterwards, I'm like, I need to find something like that. And when I found CrossFit, like the first day, I was like, this is it. I'm doing it. But I had no idea it was a competitive sport. I was like, I'm just here to exercise, and not get fat. I'm not an athlete anymore. And then I think right away, they invited me to a local competition and started with that, doing local comps. I joined a gym eventually that was fairly competitive. And they're like, oh yeah, we have a competitors group. Like we can train for regionals. I'm like, I don't even know what this is. People saying please sign up for the open. We want you to submit scores. I was not good, but I was strong. So it was just I remember the deadlift, burpee or box jump workout from years ago. I was terrible at CrossFit, had no fitness, but could pull some decent deadlifts. So helped a team qualify to regionals, I think in whatever year that was.
I want to say it's either 2013 or 2014.
I think 14. So I was an alternate that year. Didn't actually go on the team because I was still competing in college swimming that year. So I would not have been feasible for me to be on a team. I couldn't do a muscle. I couldn't do anything. So that was my first year. The next year, I kind of just trained as a normal human. I was in grad school, so I was pretty busy. The following year, we made a team. I competed individual or team regionals 2016. We did terrible, so it wasn't fun. I was told my coach, I'm like, I didn't have any fun this weekend. And he's like, then make it as an individual. And I was like, okay. So then the next year I made it as an individual. It was my last year of PT school. So kind of crazy. I was basically working full time because you're on clinicals.
Yeah. I mean, your workload must have been wild.
I would get up at 5:30 in the morning. I was a morning person. So I would study from 5:30 to 7:30. Go to clinical, I would go train from 7:30 to 10 maybe. And then my clinical was 11 to 7. And then it was a 30-minute drive and I would drive home, literally go straight to bed, do it again the next day. And because I had to study for my boards. My boards were in April and the regionals was in May. And I was like, I don't know if I should compete. I'm just going to suck. I didn't feel ready for boards and I didn't feel ready for regionals. I passed my boards, went to regionals, got 25th place. Again, that was a sucky feeling. I'm like, I don't want to be in the first heat. I want to be in the last heat. So that I graduated and my coach is like, well, you can't work full time and compete with these girls. So I took a part-time job, trained really hard and then made my first games in 2018.
That's incredible. You touch on so many things of never mind how many sports that you did competitively. You swam in college. That's crazy. That's a huge accomplishment. But then you're doing that, carrying a full course load, competing in this other sport. That's crazy. That's impressive.
It was a lot. I had really good time management skills. When I was trying to get into physical therapy school, that's actually what they look for. They're like, how can you prove to us that you have time management skills? And I was like, oh, I have great time management skills.
Yeah, you're like, oh, I got that one covered.
because I don't want to let people in that are going to be a failure in PT school.
I also do love that you went through the progressions of qualifying on team, being like, nope, didn't like this. Then it's like, all right, well, if you don't like team, go individual. And it's like, all right, well, so you train, did it, and then you're like, 25th? Still don't like it. And so it's like, I don't think many people have that distinct of a progression coming through. And like, you did it over time, and then now you're like this. Now you're a perennial games athlete, usually in the mix at the top, final heat. So that's super cool to see those steps that you took and the adjustments that you made.
Yeah, I think it's cool. Like, I mean, everyone knows this in CrossFit, but like you see progress all the time, and there's always things you can get better at. And it was like I was putting in no effort at first. It was just like I was athletic. I'd done sports my whole life, so I was good at CrossFit. But in the world of CrossFit, I was terrible.
Yeah.
But I was able to qualify without really working hard. And then 2017, I tried to make regionals, but I didn't really train. And then that next year was like, I devoted, and then I showed up still having no idea where I was going to be, but then got third place at, almost at semifinal, but at regionals and made the games. And I was just like, wow, like that's what a year of working hard can do.
That's awesome. Yeah. Like I had a very similar story, like broad strokes, started going to a gym just so I didn't get fat because I retired from my other sport. And then, it's people around saying like, oh, you sign up for the Open. I'm like, what in the world is the Open?
It makes no sense when people explain it.
Yeah. And I remember I did the Open, and it was Jay Jenny, the owner of the gym here, said, he was like, just be here Friday at 3 p.m. for the next 5 weeks. And then he would literally show me the workout. And a lot of times, like I remember like there was like chest to bar pull-ups, I think, and I had never done one. So I was like, all right, give me a couple minutes, figure out chest to bars, and then we'll do the workout. And, just having someone kind of holding your hand, taking you through it, and kind of giving you a bit of guidance early on. But then also juggling school at the same time.
Yeah. I remember the one year, this is wild, because like swimmers, when we taper, like we don't even walk upstairs. So they were like, they wanted me to do the Open workout, and it was like double unders and something else. I'm like, I'm not doing that. Like we're tapering. So I did one double under and submitted my score. Just so I could be eligible if they made regionals. Yeah. But
I love it. It's like, no, today's a rest day.
So when people look back and say my very first Open, they're like, oh my gosh, she was whatever place in the world. Yeah. That was my first Open. So technically, it was like, yeah, they're pretty bad.
That's awesome. All right. This kind of ties in nicely, the progressions they made 5 years ago. Did you think you would be doing what you're doing today?
5 years ago, I made my first CrossFit games, and I didn't think I'd be doing that, let alone still doing it now.
Yeah.
I think every year you're like, oh, I made the games. Like, cool. Like, how long is this going to last? You don't think it's going to last that long.
Yeah.
Obviously, like, I would have loved to keep going and doing what I'm doing, but I probably didn't think that was going to happen. So the fact that I'm still doing it is crazy. My mom teases me because she's like, your whole life I've been driving you to competitions and like helping you get food ready for competition. She's like, here you are, you're 30 years old and we're still driving you to competitions. Yep. And I'm like, I know it's so wild. And like when I go back and talk to friends from high school, they say the same thing. Like, we're not surprised at all. Like, you're that girl, like you were the athletic girl in high school. Like, no one's surprised that you're doing this. And I'm like, well, I'm surprised. Yeah. Like, I'm surprised that I'm doing this. I'm surprised that I'm still competing, but I would not change it for the world. Like,
I always think it's funny, like, most of the people out on the competition floor are like, they're fully grown adults, like have life partners, kids, how is it, like they're adults. But then like, I always felt funny that like, oh, your parents are here. Like my parents never missed a single competition through my entire life. But then like, I'm 30 years old and like my mom and dad are still crying in the stands. And it's like, no, you're always a baby, like to your parents,
I'm 30 years old and my mom's making my breakfast at the CrossFit games every single day for me, serving me my dinner. Like,
Yep. I had a very similar situation. Yep. This is probably a pretty quick one. What would you be doing if you weren't doing CrossFit?
Well, I'm a physical therapist, so I'd definitely be doing that in some capacity. I didn't talk about this, but I was working for several years.
Oh,
like,
okay.
I worked when I graduated, like with a normal company, which was challenging because it's like trying to explain what I do. And like, I don't want to work full time, but I want to be in a clinic. I don't want to be in a hospital. Like those settings are a lot easier to get
part-time work.
Yes.
Yep.
But I was like, here's the deal. I want this outpatient job so I can work with athletes and like have a cool environment, but I don't want to be here all the time. So
Yep.
like he made it work for me and I got like PRN. But it was still hard because I was working like 25 hours a week maybe,
I mean, that's
and,
still
and commuting.
yeah.
So it was draining me. So I started working like in a gym where I could just see people in the corner of the gym, like work on my table, work a couple hours, and then go back to training. It made it a lot easier. But still, once games training hit, I was like, I was a shell of myself.
Not manageable.
Yeah, no. I would see 8 patients on Thursdays and like, yeah, I was just
Wow,
fill.
okay.
I
Yeah,
would just fill my day because I was like, I got to get these people in, and then I would train till 3:00 and then see people like 3 to 6 in the evenings after training. And
Wow.
so like once mid-June
Yeah.
hit like the real games training in 2019, I was like, I'm taking a break. Like I'll see you guys in August to all my patients.
Wow. Good for you.
And then afterwards I was like, you know what? Like maybe I can just like make this athlete thing a thing.
Yeah.
And ever since then I've been doing that. But I
So
still renew it. And
yeah. So when was the last time you were working?
2019, right before the games.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is like brand new, like
Yeah.
being like a full-time,
Yeah.
just full-on athlete, huh?
Yeah. So I still renew my license every 2 years because like I want to keep it fresh. I don't
Yeah.
want to lose that. I went to school for 7 years. I don't want to just like
yeah.
throw it out the window.
Like, do you think you'll have an interest? Like, do you still want to go back to that?
Do I want to go back to 9 to 5 PT? No. But I love movement. I love the human body. I like more preventative. Like, let's teach you how to move better so you don't get hurt. Like I prefer that. I don't like the hands-on part of PT. It's not my favorite. Like I don't like to sit there and like work on knots on people because like people treat you like a massage therapist. And I'm like, I didn't go to school for 7 years to be a massage therapist. Like I went to school to learn all about anatomy and like how people move and the kinematics of like joints and stuff like that. Like that's what's cool to me.
Yeah.
So I think in some capacity, yes, but definitely not like going back to a clinic and doing that again.
Yeah. That's awesome. Wow. You juggled a lot for a long time.
Yeah, now I'm
Good on you.
Now I'm just chilling, athlete life.
I'll preface this next one same way as I did with Kat. There's no right or wrong answer. What is it about HWPO that resonates with you?
You were such a successful athlete and now you've started this company, and who wouldn't want to be a part of something that you obviously knew what you were doing, and like now you're building this huge brand. So it's enticing for anyone to want to be a part of. And then when I found out Harry was going to be a part of it, like he started coaching me in 2018, just like a little bit, just kind of from a distance, but like we've grown such a good relationship over the years and just good people in general. Like I've known O'Keefe for years and like known Kat, and just like Mal's been so successful, and it's just cool to see good people getting together and like doing what we all love. And like, why would you not want to be a part of that?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I know I'm sure I'm biased. You know, I think we have the best group of people, but like today was the perfect example where we have like 15 people in the house, and it's like everyone's doing their thing. And then it's like little groups will break off to go do a workout or go to dinner, or grab lunch, whatever it is. But yeah.
But the vibe is chill.
I love our people, and it's like everyone's always down to have a good time. Like it's when the time's appropriate, it's nothing but laughs and hugs. But then when we need to, it's like, all right, let's buckle down. We're all gonna crank out some work, and we're gonna do it the best that we can. You know, so like I think it's that good mix of like work and play.
It's such a good balance because like it's not like you have to say like, oh, now we work hard. Like we all know that, and like everyone's just like there to do it, and everyone's locked in, which I think makes the environment so much better as opposed to being like, hey guys, we got to work hard. Like you would never have to say that. Like it's just an epitome of like how the environment is so good.
Yeah, 100%. For this upcoming season, what are you excited about the season? What are you excited to work on? What are you excited to learn?
I'm excited to just kind of have a fresh start. I think that, I was with another program following different things for a few years, and it's just nice to start fresh. I got better for a while. I'm definitely still getting better, but the field's getting better. So it's like, go back to the drawing board. Like, where can we kind of start from scratch? Not completely, but to just build me back up. Like, I know I wouldn't still be doing this if I didn't think I could still get better. Like, I'm not about to go out there and just let myself just fall down the leaderboard each year. Like I would rather move on with my life and do other things, but I firmly believe that I still have so much more to get better.
Yeah.
And that's what excites me. It's like
Hell yeah.
having so much time to do that now. I mean, it's November and the games is in August. It's like, that makes me so excited that like we can just start now and build so much. I've learned so much already. It's like when I talk to younger athletes and it's like, I don't feel like I have that much experience, but when you start talking to other people, you're like, wow, I really have learned a lot. Like you learn so much at the games, like that you can't even just, it's hard to even list it off. Like there's just so much you don't know. Like you don't know what you don't know.
You don't know what you don't know until you've experienced it. And then when you're talking to someone that hasn't had that experience and you're going back and you're like, yeah, I know like my first year competing in the games, like I don't think I could have done much more wrong. But like, why would I know how to do it right? I've never done it before. Yeah. I mean, especially dealing with like the other athletes, like look at Mal. It's like she's 18. She's only been to the games twice now. And it's like, there's still so much learning to do. But yeah.
And I still have so much to learn. It's just like, I went to Rogue and I look back and I'm like, I made so many mistakes. And it's like, it's hard not to think, how am I still making mistakes in competition at this point? But like, things are always going to be different. Like judges are different. The floor is different. Athletes are different. Like you always have to be ready for that. And things go wrong, but it's cool to come back from a weekend like that and being like, wow, I still have so much to learn, so much to get better at.
I always looked at during competition, I would try not to be hard on myself for making mistakes. I would be hard on myself if I made a mistake a second time. So, like showing up to a competition, there's a new piece of equipment or a new something. And it's like, all right, I hope I can piece this together from other experiences to do the best I can, but there's no guarantee. But it's okay. Now, 6 months later, a year later, that movement came up again. It's like, okay, now it's my responsibility. Like I knew this is a thing now and I didn't practice it. Now it's my fault. So stuff like that, something like the crossover double unders at the games. It was new. Not many people have practiced with all that type of stuff. So it's like, hey, don't like for Mal, it's like, don't be hard on yourself. Like that was the first time it ever came up and you did great. Like you got a great score in the workout. But now it's like, if crossover double unders come up again, let's hope she does better.
Yeah.
And we're doing what we need to now to make that happen.
I think it's cool because it's like, it can be a skill. It can be a fitness thing. It can be just like a movement thing. Like I usually move pretty well. I don't get a ton of no reps, but I remember last year at Rogue, I just got nailed on my handstand push-ups. And I was like, man, I thought my handstand push-ups were good.
Yeah.
Like I really thought they were straight as a board. And now every time I go back into training, I do handstand push-ups, I remember that moment. And I'm like, you're going to be perfect.
Yep.
And I didn't get a single no rep this year at the handstand push-ups at Rogue because I went to that workout being like, you're keeping your feet glued together. You're squeezing your butt.
Yeah.
Like you're waiting for the judge to tell you to go down. And like, it was great. And like, now I know that. And it's like experiences like that matter so much.
Yeah. I think too, like for some athletes, especially with people that, I work with directly or just friends, or even just a younger up and comer, like some people, it's like the experience you need is competing, so like Jason, by the time when he went to the games the first time, that was his third competition he had ever done. So on the competition, like he is a stud of an athlete, has all these tools, but he doesn't know how to compete. And so that's where for him, we're encouraging him, like, no, like you need to sign up for Wadapalooza, for Rogue, for all these other ones, get that experience and keep learning. And then there's other athletes that's like, okay, we just need to get your deadlift better. Like we need to work on these things in the gym so that you can have better numbers, but your performance is great, Right. So it's always breaking that down, but the learning never stops. Like I've competed in some form of fitness for like the last 20 years. Or not the last 2 years, but even this morning, like we had a guy coming in to talk about the ski erg. And 10 seconds into his speech, we all realized that we are all doing it way wrong. And it was like, oh, and for me, I'm like, oh, I've been doing this wrong for 8 years.
Yeah.
Like, okay, time to make some adjustment. It's like, but it's not bad. It's now bad if you get the right information and you choose not to use it. But now it's like, all right, we're just constantly learning, constantly applying it back to what
I
we
think
do.
it's like CrossFit. It's like it never ends. It literally never ends. And there's always new stuff coming out. And it's like, dang it, I finally got good at this. And now they made it this. It's like, like sometimes it's frustrating because we have that like perfectionist in us. And it's like, I finally felt like I nailed it. And now they made it so much harder. But like, it's what makes it so fun and like keeps us coming back.
Yeah, that's what keeps you chasing. Like you can never rest on your laurels because who knows? There's no rule book on what they can do. So you have to be ready for anything and everything. All right, last one. Someday when you leave the sport, how do you want to be remembered? What do you want your legacy to be? Like, what do you want to be known for? With any athlete that I work with, this is one of the questions that I ask, and it usually starts with like, what's your motivation for training? You know, why are you doing this? And there's no wrong answer, but for me, I look at it as when my athlete's on the rower in the dark place and, you know, the doubt starts creeping in and I want to, you know, motivate them or remind them or whatever it is, you know, the motivation that I'm giving to one athlete wouldn't even get the other one to cross the street, but this one's willing to go to a dark place for it. You know, I think it's so interesting hearing what people want out of their career. You know, it's like, do you want to just find where your limit is? Do you want to collect as many event wins, as many gold medals as possible? Like get the biggest sponsorship, social media following. Like some of those things are important to different people. And then you talk to some that they're just like, I want to go hard. That's it. There's no wrong answer.
So I think like for me, like we all want to win. Like we're not in it. Like nobody wants to lose. Nobody likes taking second place or anything beyond it. But like that's life and it's going to happen. So you can't just focus on winning. I really do think for me, it comes down to just truly trying to be the best I can be. And like, I know that sounds so cliche, but it's like
such a cliche saying. And I think so many people use it without diving into like the meaning of it.
Yeah. It's like you see that like you were made a certain way for a reason. Like I firmly believe that we all are. And like, the fact that I have this athleticism and that I have this power output and that I, you know, was put in these specific sports that made me this good for CrossFit. And it's like, I landed here. Like, why would I not want to see how good I can get before I walk away? Yeah. And it's fun to do that. It's fun to chase a goal. I love routines. I love like regimented lifestyle. So like I thrive in that environment. So like if I'm not competing, I'm still going to live that way. I'm just not sure what my excuse will be. Cause like right now it's like Amanda's crazy, but like that's why. So when I'm not that way, it's just going to be like, oh, that's just Amanda, which like it totally is me. But I just love chasing that and like constantly trying to get better, like tweaking my nutrition, tweaking my training, like trying to find better ways to sleep, like constantly doing that and like seeing the changes in the gym and seeing how I feel, like the results, and then showing up to competitions and like still learning. Like, I just love doing that. And like, that's the main drive. But at the same time, it's like the relationships in this sport are unreal. And it's like, I cannot imagine my life without them. And it's like all of the people I've met, the sponsorships, like, yeah, it's great. It's like, it's unbelievable that I'm getting paid to exercise. Like when I say that out loud, I'm like, what?
Yeah, it's like, what do you do for work? It's like, I exercise.
When people ask that, me and my husband just go, go ahead, explain. You explain it.
Yep. But
like, it's true. It's literally a dream come true. So I can't imagine doing anything else. And like, I'm so thankful for it, but it's just, I'm going to have these relationships for the rest of my life. And I want to remember that. And I want to remember those relationships. And I want people to remember me for like having good relationships and truly being kind to people. Like I want to be remembered for that. Like people do remember the first place medals 100%, but they also remember how you made them feel when you talked to them after you got first place. 100%. And like, that matters to me.
Oh, I mean, you explained it perfectly. Like I have two of my gold medals framed. Don't know where the frames are. And then I have the other 3 gold medals in a grocery bag, like in my sock drawer. Like, yes, that's what I was chasing, but that's just like, I feel like that was like the outward symbol of what I was chasing.
It's like what stories you're going to tell when you're older. Like you're going to tell the stories of how you worked hard to win and like the people you met.
When it's the stories and the memories that are built along the way and the people you meet. Like for myself, even if I left my CrossFit like career with nothing else, I met my wife and I met my best friend. Like those two things, like there's not you can't put a value on those things, you know? And it's like, yeah, the gold medals are great. The sponsorships are cool. Like, obviously I love all those things, but the more and more that I get removed from my competition career, the more and more I'm realizing that people are the best thing, you know, the friendships, the memories, the stories. Like, you know, I've trained with a bunch of athletes, and even now that I'm coaching, it's like those same things. Like every year the games are a blur. Like as soon as the first event's done, like I remember telling rookies, like take points throughout the week to like make memories, like look around and take the time, because
soak it in.
The first event is done, the weekend's over. And I remember someone was like, is he trash talking or like what is it? And it's just like, no, I've just done this enough times that I know every year is just a blur. It's just over.
I think the last year I've started to try to do that. Like walk out on the competition floor and you're like, look around. Like you can be focused and still look around. Like look around and like look at the crowd. Like these people are cheering.
One of the first times I ever did that was Ben and O'Keefe. It was as I was going onto the floor, and they were like, by the time you're our age, I think they were like between 40, 45, they're like, you have a handful of memories that you could like paint from memory. And they were like, you're in one of those moments right now. Take a second to look around the floor and like look at the crowd, listen to the music, smell the smells, you know, like, so yeah, it's, if you don't take those moments intentionally, deliberately, it's like they will flash by. And it's, I think the games go by so quick because say you have 15 events over 5 days, you're never looking day to day. You're always looking, all right, in 1 hour I need to start warming up. In 1 hour I need to eat. In 1 hour I'm on the floor. So you're always looking at these short little increments, and it just goes by so fast.
I know. And then you blink and the weekend's over.
Yeah.
I know. And then like you can look back and like you can remember those moments like on the floor, or like the moments with teammates or friends and like or family after the competition. It's like, I think because we're in this space and like we finally get to be surrounded by like-minded people, because it's just hard to find people that are like-minded when you're so different than normal people in society. I don't mean that to sound rude, but it's just like you're around it and you're like, oh, we're in this like little bubble, and it's just like it's so awesome to be around people who are working as hard, like want to achieve the same goals, like want to be super healthy. Like that is so cool. And like being able to find friends and family and like everyone that's in that, and also like to bring more people into it. Like I hope that that's the goal of all of us. Like
when your social hour is your healthy hour, is your working hour, and then you're trying to build a bigger and bigger community, like you found this awesome thing and you want to show it to everyone of like, hey guys, come do this cool thing.
Like we're not doing this because we're crazy, we're doing it because it's awesome.
Well, that's awesome. Amanda, thank you so much for the time. We'll wrap it up there, but hope everyone enjoyed.
Thanks for having me.